What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Untitled Game channel. My name's AJ Kells. How y'all doing? Well, if you can read the title of this video, you know what we're going to be doing. We're going to be sitting down and watching the Summer Games Fest sort of reveals from the 12th of May and the 13th of May, the 12th obviously being yesterday, and the 13th being today's. Honestly, I was going to, my plan was to do, so it was going to be wake up, do something else, and then while that was uploading, do the video for the announcement yesterday, which was Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2. I feel comfortable talking about that because, come on, it's already been out for about 24 hours. It's, already been out there what the game is. But honestly, then I woke up, I opened up YouTube, I was going to go check some stuff before I started recording, and then I see, oh, no, they're doing another one today, right now. I also think Sony has a state of play set up for, I think, tomorrow, but my, I keep forgetting what day of the week it is, so it might be tomorrow, it might be 2 days from now. Either way, we're going to be watching the first announcement, the Tony Hawk Pro Skater one, and then we're going to swap over to the current live stream that's going on as I'm recording. I'm not sure what it is. I think I might have caught a few seconds of it. I think it's Epic Games, but beyond that, I have no idea what the actual game is. So we'll take a look at that after Tony Hawk. Oh my god. I know the song, oh my god, so much we want to say it's the Misfits, but I'm not sure. I'm seeing School again. Okay. Well, we gotta go back. I gotta see what the legendary skaters. That doesn't mean much to me because I don't know jack shit about skateboarding. Yeah, Power Man, Bad Religion. Oh, it's a Dead Kennedy song. What they're playing right there. It's a Dead Kennedy song. It's fuck me, I know the song. Oh man, it really hurts that I can't name it. But oh my god, dude, I mean, just like looking at this, some of my favorite bands: Bad Religion, Dead Kennedy. I personally, I love Goldfinger. I argue that with some people, but I love Goldfinger, Millencolin, Papa Roach, Lagwagon, Rage Against the Fucking Machine. God damn it, there's some really great punk bands on this. Oh man, see that is the reason I'm the most excited for this, is its soundtrack. Sadly enough, it's the reason I probably can't do an LP for it on the channel, is because I will be copyrighted to hell and back, sadly. But god damn it, I love the music. No, I have a weird relationship with Tony Hawk. I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh my gosh, they're such important games in my history or whatever. But you know what? I still remember playing. I can't remember which Tony Hawk game it was. Honestly, I cannot remember which one it was. I don't think it was 1 or 2. It might have been like 3 or something. But I remember playing it on PS2. Well, I'm trying to remember what the level or the location sort of progression was, because I think it started with Foundry, or that the like Steelworks, and then it went on to like I think it was like a lumber mill or something. I know School was in it, but I know School's in almost all of them. God damn it. It's making me remember my childhood. Not necessarily these bands. I'm into these bands now, but then oh, playing Skate. This game's version of Horse. You just do crazy shit. God.
There's the big news. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 is coming back for a brand new remaster. Hey, everyone, it's Jeff Keighley, and this is an exciting Summer Game Fest announcement of that news. And to talk a bit
Oh,
about
my
it
God,
right now,
seeing
we've
that.
got two very special guests joining us.
I mean, it just seeing that down there, you know, seeing the tricks, the score modifiers, just the simple grind bar. Oh my God, all that is just, it's a fucking blast from the past, man.
Of course, the one and only Tony Hawk and Jen from Vicarious Visions, who did the incredible Crash Bandicoot remaster, and they're now teaming up with Tony to bring Pro Skater back, which is a much requested thing to have happen. Tony, this is exciting. I know it's been I think 4 or 5 years since the last time you guys did a game. This is what everyone I think wanted, right? Was rolling back the clock to the originals and bringing it forward. How did this?
Also, going back to controlling on a with a controller and not some sort of weird skateboard that you have in your house. Does anybody else remember that peripheral? Because I remember that peripheral, and I also remember how dumb was that. Tony Hawk Ride or something? Was that the name of that fucking thing? Yeah, man, I can't remember the last time I actually cared about a Tony Hawk game, and honestly, because I still haven't seen the stream. This is as usual with my reactions. I go in blind. I honestly, I wasn't. I mean, I'm like, okay, this is cool. I'll give it a shot. Give it a shot. You know, it's the nostalgia. But you know what? The more I'm thinking about this, the more actually I'm kind of getting hyped about this remaster. Maybe it's because it's coming out pretty soon. I mean, you saw it was September 4th?
Come about.
You know, it's been there's been a lot of requests over the last few years. I would say even over 5 years, and I could just sense it ramping up, especially as we approach the 20th anniversary of the release of the first THPS. And I was talking to Activision about some other stuff, about some charity events, and the idea was just why don't we remaster this? And when it came from them, I said, you don't understand how many people have asked me that. And I try to explain to them that I don't have a team of coders behind me that I can just go make this happen. And they said, yeah, let's get on it. And they immediately tapped Vicarious Visions, and off we went. And I mean, honestly, the end product is way better than I ever imagined.
Yeah, when I first.
Oh, okay, a little side note here. Did anyone else think that look that I'm gonna keep trying to call him Joff? See that face right there? Did anyone else think he's making googly eyes? Oh my God, it's Tony Hawk. Like he's fawning over him a little bit. That or he just looks really tired. I can't really tell.
Never imagined.
Yeah, when I first saw it, I was so excited that it was what VV always does, which is kind of honoring the tradition of the game, but obviously kind of fully upgrading it, and not just the graphics, but it's also the controls and how it feels, because we're moving 20 years forward in time. Jen, this is again, VV has done a lot of great things over the history of the company, but now it's you guys are known for really these amazing kind of remasters of beloved franchises. This is a very different game than Crash. Can you tell us a bit about how you approach this one?
Yeah, well, I mean, first off, we're fans too. VV has been involved with working on Tony Hawk games for years, starting with many of the Nintendo handhelds, and a number of us have been involved for the lifetime of the series. We had a number of people that came over from Neversoft. Myself, I produced 3 of the games. So,
oh, that's cool.
You start with that fandom. Good things will happen. And so in approaching this, the number one thing for us was to get it to feel right. It's got to be a high quality game that feels like you remember it. So we started with the Neversoft engine, looking at the Neversoft code base for the handling, brought that over, also looked at the level layouts and bringing over the geometry as a starting point. And then you upgrade everything from there, from the animations to the high res graphics, to those quality of life improvements that modern gamers expect. So it's a complete package for the fans who are just really aching for the nostalgia of these original games.
Yeah, and
a few things. There's a few things I want to talk about. One involving the game, one just kind of being just a side comment, and the third one just being I guess also a side comment, but kind of related to what we're seeing here. First of all, I'll stick with the game first. I'm really glad that, what with everything she said, that is, with a remaster, that's what you're looking for. I mean, it's like Jeff said, this company is known for doing great remasters. Honestly, I haven't played a lot of them because, well, I didn't play a lot of Nintendo handhelds. I was never a Crash Bandicoot guy. I respect it. I understand why people love it. It's never been my thing. But, saying that, that I think what she said, she produced like 3 of the Tony Hawk Pro Skater games, that there's, a lot of people from Neversoft that came over. So, knowing that the game is kind of in its old hands, that it's people who know the game or specifically the entries that we're talking about here, that's definitely a good thing. That definitely bodes well for this. And then even saying that they've built this up from the old code. They aren't reinventing the wheel necessarily. They're just making it look prettier. That's the first thing I wanted to say. The second, this is kind of a short thing, but this is, I think Imran Khan said it about the Xbox event last week. But dear God, can we get these people some better microphones? I can kind of understand Tony, but but this lady down in the bottom right, come on, get a better microphone. Come on. Same thing with all the Microsoft people last week. They sounded far away and staticky. It sounded gross. I get it, not their fault. They work with what they have. I'm just saying. It makes me laugh that all these people are involved in the tech industry. Come on, get a better microphone. So that's the most off-topic comment. But the other thing I wanted to say, I really love Geoff Keighley. I really love the events he puts on. I love him in a hosting role. I love him in an interview role too. Because we know he can host. We've seen the Game Awards. We've seen Gamescom and their opening Gamescom event and all that. But I keep trying to call him Geoff Keighley. Geoff Keighley truly loves video games, and I think it really it shows in the way he talks about them, the way he approaches everything. And I think he approaches it more from a fan first as opposed to a developer first. I'm trying to think the best way to put it. He wouldn't make the mistake that you'd see, and it was brought up to me, I was talking about the Xbox presentation in the comments of, I think the last weekly show. I believe it was Brian Gaddai who I was talking with. He said that he thinks that a lot of marketing people, even though they work for a video game company, really don't understand gamers or understand gaming. And I think that's kind of the best thing about Geoff Keighley. I don't think he'd make those kind of promises and then not deliver. He wouldn't. I think what he's saying, you're going to get something new and you're going to get this or that or whatever. When he tells you something, you kind of listen, because I think he understands what gamers actually want to see, and he gives it to them. I think that's the first big thing. But I also like him in an interviewer role. Because you see them here. He's not asking really a softball question. He's asking a very. I'm trying to think the best way to put it. I get this a lot when I hear questions from. Hell, just go back to the Xbox event, or listen to, some people from you'll hear people from IGN or people from Game Informer or whatever doing an interview. Just the interview, they're asking questions, but they're getting answers to maybe either not the question they asked, or they're not asking, like really specific questions. They're asking very softball-y, very kind of questions that lets the developer kind of pontificate and sell the game, but not tell you anything about it, if that makes sense. Jeff asked a very concrete question about it, and then the woman, I think she also gave a very good answer in saying, in basically laying it out. Look, we started from the base code. We had a lot of people from Neversoft, et cetera, et cetera. It's and again, this is stuff I learned in school. A good interview, yes, it's a good answer to the question, but a good interviewer draws out that question. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little nerdy about this. I studied this shit in college. At some point I actually wanted to be kind of like a Geoff Keighley, or work for one of these larger outlets or whatever. I'm not so much anymore, but it's what I'm I'm trying to think the best way to put it. It's just something that I have an interest in. So sometimes I see that, and I just, I don't know. I just kind of like talking about that kind of stuff. So let's move on.
You know, this is so many years later, as Tony said, like 20 plus years. So, even the nature of how you control and play the game has changed so much. Because, I mean, you remember, Tony, I mean, the old game pads, I mean, it's like, analog sticks weren't even a thing. So it's like, I imagine that was a lot of what you had to think about is like, how can you play this with, new, more sophisticated controllers that give you so much more granularity when you're playing?
Yeah, well, we've had experience with doing this before,
Yeah.
but certainly, if you're an old school player, your thumb's going to drift to that D-pad, and you're going to want to do your tricks that way.
That's
You
me.
can certainly do that if you want to do that, but newer players are used to playing on the analog sticks, and quite frankly, analog is not as precise. So we had to spend a good amount of time iterating and thinking about, okay, how do we make it so it's just forgiving enough? It understands what you're trying to do, but you still have the challenge.
I'm
Yeah,
all
Tony-
about the D-pad though.
I'm
For the
sure.
D-pad.
I was going to say, because Tony, you've had so many years of going through different controllers. Even I remember when we revealed the board together one year when you did that. I mean, you've been sort of through everything. When you stepped into
Tony,
this to
will you
work
just
with
admit that was a
maybe
bad
talk
move?
a bit about the collaboration and kind of how you were giving feedback and sort of where you wanted to take the game. You said still be rooted in the history of it, but obviously update it to today's standards or quality of life, as Jen said.
Yeah, I would say the basis of it was the feel. Does it feel like it responds the way that the original games did? And that's something that we've been kind of missing through, the various versions and attempts at bringing this back. And so when they finally got the feel, and it didn't take them very long, they are really good at what they do, and it's obvious that they're fans of the game. So when I started playing it, it felt like the same response. It felt like the tricks they worked the same, yet the visuals were just way over the top. I mean, they're exponentially better, obviously through the systems, but they're even better because they've
Oh my god, even those sounds are
get
back.
these levels and to get these maps looking like photorealistic.
Can you guys maybe talk about the obviously online is a big part of it, but sort of like
Yeah, I mean, you're hearing when the score boosts, you're just hearing that bah sound to it. Oh my god.
what is new or different about this game that you've added to sort of the the core architecture of the the original two?
Well, of course, online gaming is naturally an expectation from the modern gamer. So, of course, we've got,
Shared world skate
we've
parks.
got all of your favorite modes from multiplayer that are now online. But it's interesting because I think actually split screen's still kind of a novelty these days. So we're bringing that back. All of your favorite modes again. You can play on the couch with your friends and hopefully one day invite them over. Hopefully soon. And as far as other things that you can play online, we also have Create a Perk that has been improved. Now you can post your levels online, have your friends play them. You can share them online, let them take over and customize them even further. So it's a pretty robust offering of things you can do with your friends out there.
I really like that she brings up the fact that couch co-op is still an option. It's still there. It's like she said. I think that's really kind of become a novelty over the years, and it's really sad because I've said this before on the channel, and I say it a lot. I'm personally, if I'm gonna play co-op with somebody, I definitely want it to be couch co-op. I want to be sitting in a room with somebody playing and talking. We don't have to talk over a microphone, and it's. I just for some reason I'm really self-conscious more over a microphone, like talking with somebody, than I am just sitting right next to them. It's really weird because I have a thing about eating and just breathing too heavy into the microphone. I'm like, oh my gosh, is this happening? I prefer to be sitting in the room with the person, that we can sit and have our conversation or whatever, just in person. I don't know why. Maybe I'm not really one of those big community gaming kind of people, but I definitely like the idea of couch co-op. And again, I'm glad that they're keeping that feature.
Are you going to have sort of like any new tricks or secrets or anything, Tony, like that you wanted to kind of put into these classic levels? I mean, people don't necessarily want them touched, but also I think there's probably some fun. I mean, is there anything kind of new that you said, hey, like I want to switch this out, or something that's bugged you from 20 years ago that you're like, let's change that out?
There are some polished moves, but I was trying to stay as true as we could to the original. So
I think that's a
besides
good
the
move.
visuals and obviously the responsiveness, we stayed pretty true to the tricks and the maps. And so yeah, I didn't want to mess with that too much. I, I feel like people are going to be so excited to play exactly as they remember it, but in this new visual field,
Yep.
that's where we want to land.
Yeah, no, and you go ahead, yeah.
I was going to say, I think what's maybe fresh to these two titles is that you'll have a full suite of tricks to play with from even the latter THPS series. Because when we talk to fans and we ask them, what do you remember about these games? And it's really being that skateboarding superhero, doing those crazy endless lines. So we needed tricks like Revert, which came in later, so that you can chain together your tricks. So we added those back into the mix. So I'm really looking forward to seeing people, skate in the warehouse, but do some super crazy high combos.
It's funny, I get corrected all the time because when I talk about the series, and I say, oh, when we introduced the revert in THPS 2, which was not in THPS 2, but it's like I don't want to remember a time before we had the revert. So I did insist on adding that to this version, even though I think it came in 3.
It came in 3. That's right. I think what happens is you start playing and your finger just keeps going for that trigger. So you just, again, that muscle memory kicks in and you just want to do the tricks you're familiar with. And so I was doing it. I kept seeing other people doing it. So it made sense that, okay, this is what people naturally are going to want to have.
Right. But I think that it's going to be the same thing. There's sort of this blurry memory of, well, I know this trick. Well, that was in 4. So we did include some of those just because people expect them and they won't remember the timeline of the series like that.
Oh, for sure. You said, I think I mean, 3 was so classic. You said, like, everyone just remembers it's sort of like, the classic, pro skater stuff. I know around
I think 3 was the one I got into.
Work with, like, Create a Park, Create a Skater, and can you maybe talk about that, Janice, or, how you're surrounding that and building that out?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the game has always been about self-expression. So Create a Skater is awesome. We have a ton of diversity in our faces, the hair, the clothing, so many things that you can pick out. Of course, your deck graphics, trucks, wheels, you name it. But I'm really super excited about Create a Park because the VV team has truly modernized this feature. I told you a bit about how you can share online, etc., but there are a ton of pieces and parts that you can customize your park with. The new news is that you'll be able to modify many of the pieces. And so modify them. If you want to take a rail, twist it around, turn it into basically like a roller coaster, you can do that. If you want to create some crazy massive mega ramp that goes all the way up into the sky, you absolutely can do that too. So I'm really super stoked to see what our players create with this. They're going to be able to share it online, like I said, and share it with their friends. I can imagine one of the things that I look forward to, because you can tag your parks with descriptors, is people being able to go to their local skate park and essentially build it in the game. So if I want to see what a skate park in Chicago looks like, I can just type in Chicago and boom, something appears. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what people do.
No, I didn't think.
That's amazing. So
I didn't think about that being a factor, but she makes a good point. That is really an interesting idea that somebody could actually go out and take the time to create a facsimile of what a real life skate park is. I mean, it's a interesting idea, especially with sharing things online. Yeah, it's cool.
You get.
I mean, I see it a lot more interesting if you're an actual if you're an actual really into skateboarding. I am not, but I mean, hell, I'd probably just play this game alone for the music.
To get in, design some stuff, Tony, I guess, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was the original goal too with all the Creative Park, was that we wanted to share it online, and it didn't come of age yet. So now is the time for sure.
Having done this, Tony, does this make you feel like, hey, you want to get into keep doing these again and again? Because I mean, you kind of stopped, and there were definitely a lot of people who were like, I know there were a lot of them for a lot of years, and it's sometimes good to take a break. But I feel like people, as you said, I mean, the audience still wants it, right?
Yeah, and there is a strong nostalgia and attachment to the original, at least four,
Yeah.
THPS 1 through 4. So, I mean, 1 and 2 is the jumping off point. I would love to be able to do more down the line. I think that we, especially with VV, like we can make this stuff look spectacular. Um, and the, even 3 and 4, we're still only on PlayStation 2. So
Yep.
we've come a long way with the technology, and I think that these guys truly are the best ones. Like they're the most
Oh
qualified to
yeah.
do it. And so every time I get a new version, I can't believe how much better it looks. I mean, that's the truth.
No.
See, I think Jeff brings up a good point. I think if this does well enough, I mean, I think there is a possibility that we may maybe see this franchise resurge. I mean, I think they're all kind of dancing. They've kind of mentioned it, but I think they're kind of dancing around the fact that look, Tony Hawk's Pro Skaters 1 through 4 are about the only ones that are really memorized. I knew some people who really like the Underground games. I never played them. Were those only on the GameCube? I want to say they were. I want to say they didn't make their way over to the PS2, but I want to say they were on the GameCube. Yeah, I never played those. I never played 5 or 6 or the one with the stupid board controller. I still think that peripheral is really dumb. I mean, I guess I could understand it if you really were a skater, but I think I saw a lot of people who tried it and went, yeah, no, even if you're a skater, this is really weird and kind of dumb. Either way. But no, I could see if this does well, maybe a resurgence to the franchise. I think the biggest thing, and I think why maybe Tony Hawk Pro Skater kind of died off, it's because it kind of lost that spark or that magic that the earlier ones had. So hopefully this can maybe revive it and bring back a classic franchise.
Oh, VV, you've done such a great job, Jen. I think that's the thing that
Thank you.
with games, it's sometimes sad because we don't have that backwards compatibility of all of these old systems. So all these games that I grew up playing, it's like you just can't really play them anymore, right? And if on a PC, sometimes you can find old versions of games, but old, as you said, like PS1 games, PS2 games, it's like you can't just pop them in. So the fact that they're they're coming back, but also
Am I the only one with a working PS2? I mean, I haven't turned mine on a long time, but I still have a PS2. It works. Come on, people.
so going forward in time, and with the fidelity that you guys are able to build around it, and the controls, and even with Crash, where you were trying to figure out like how does the jump translate, and how do you move it's all the moves and the grinds and the lines from the original Tony Hawk, making it feel right on these new controllers, I think is yeah, I'm sure you guys have nailed it. Unfortunately, since we're all in quarantine, we can't sit there and play it, but I trust you guys are gonna deliver it, and I'm so excited that it's back. So exciting news, and thanks for being a part of this with us as we virtually bring together the gaming world. But I'm sure everyone will be excited that it's coming out soon, right? I think it's going to be early fall.
That's right. We're coming out September 4th. And if you pre-order today, you can, well, if you pre-order in general, not just today, you'll get access to that iconic warehouse level from THPS 1. And you'll get access to it early, so before the game releases. So definitely check it out.
That's awesome.
It's kind of like your Pizza Hut promotional disc.
Exactly.
No, I get that's the thing, is that part of this thing with this whole Summer Game Fest thing we're doing is people are at home and they want to play games because they're not going to be able to go to events like E3 and stuff like that this year to play stuff. So the fact that you're going to have the warehouse people be able to play later this summer is awesome to hear. So all right, well, Tony, Jen, thanks for joining me. Great to have THPS back and coming this fall. So we'll look forward to seeing more later this year.
Wonderful. Thank
right.
you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Anything else? Nope. Okay. We do have more to show. Like I said, there is currently a live stream going on. It might have ended by now if it's about like this. This one was only about 14, 15 minutes long. So maybe the next one's also going to be kind of short. I'm not sure if they're going to do these like every day or every other day, or, maybe once or twice a week. I don't know exactly how their schedule is going to work, but Either way, I'll hop over and after I get another bottle of water, and then we will keep going. All right, new bottle of water obtained. All right, yep, made sure my mic actually turned on, and let's go. Unlike the last one, I have no idea what this reveal is. Like I said, this was live as I was getting ready to do something else, so I thought, change of plans, guys.
Hello, I'm Brian Karras, Technical Director of Graphics here at Epic Games.
Hi, I'm Jerome Plateau, Art Director of the Special Project.
A few years ago, we got together as a team and brainstormed where we thought we could push forward the state-of-the-art in real-time graphics. There were two key areas that stood out. The first, dynamic global illumination. Beautiful bounce lighting, instantaneously.
I don't have to be constrained to do a game where the world has to be static, and I'm able to iterate a lot faster.
And we call this new system Lumen. And we are about to show you what it is capable of. But first, there was another area that we thought we could push forward. Truly virtualized geometry. The artist wouldn't have to be concerned over poly counts, draw calls, or memory. We could directly use film quality assets and bring them straight into the engine.
And that's a big deal for artists. I just want to be able to import my ZBrush model, my photogrammetry scan, my CAD data, without wasting any time optimizing, creating LODs, or even lowering the quality to make it hit frame rate.
In the end, that's what it's all about. Art that just works. And we call this new technology Nanite. Here is the future of Unreal Engine running live on a PlayStation 5.
Awesome, let's take a look at it.
Hey, PlayStation 5. Isn't that interesting? I'm sorry. Again, it sounds. I know I always keep saying this. It sounds like I'm a brand loyalist. I am in Sony's camp right now. Look, I think Sony. I think they had the better exclusives. At least this generation. I think they had the better console. They had the better controller. I just all around. I like Sony this generation. Look, next generation. I can't say anything until anything comes out. Look, I think I made my thoughts clear. I think Sony's going to win on its games alone, its sequels alone, I guess I should say, to quote a Push Square article I saw. I was watching a Dan Q8000 stream, and somebody asked him whether he was going to get an Xbox or a PlayStation. I think he made an interesting point on the Xbox. I'm sorry, I know I'm kind of going off topic a little bit here, but I don't know. This is the closest kind of like news thing I'm doing, so I'm kind of bringing this up now. He brought up an interesting point for him, who mostly plays on PC. Next generation, he's probably going to only get a PlayStation 5, mostly for exclusives, because everything else he plays on PC. Because Microsoft exclusives, he gets on PC. He can play them on PC, especially with this whole Play Anywhere thing. Look, it's a good feature. He also kind of questioned the PlayStation controller, or whatever. I don't know. I keep going back and forth on the DualSense. I kind of like it, but I'm going to have to see it in person before I make my final decision. And he's not saying PlayStation has the advantage or whatever. He's just saying for him, it makes more sense financially to only buy the PlayStation because he's got those Xbox games. But again, I also see that as it's something I was saying about the Project Lockhart and the Xbox Series X. You're creating competition within your own company, and in a way, Microsoft has done that between the PC and the Xbox. I mean, it's always been there, but with this Play Anywhere thing and the Game Pass and everything like that, that's really getting pushed now. I think we're seeing it even more. A lot of PC people, why am I going to spend hundreds of dollars on a console? I can just either get the subscription or I can just buy games on my PC. I don't know. I think it's an interesting thing to look at when it comes to the console war. Like I said, sorry for that little tangent. I felt like kind of talking about something real quick there. Now, what the hell is this? Hey, you see this, Microsoft? This is what gameplay looks like.
Before we continue, let's stop a moment and
Sorry about that.
take a look at some of the key
Try and make that look a little better.
Much of what you see was built with Quixel Megascan assets, but instead of using the game versions, we used the cinematic versions, which would typically only be used in film. There are around 1 million triangles each, and thanks to virtual texturing, they all use 8K textures as well. Nanite can render an insane number of triangles very quickly. There are over 1 billion triangles of source geometry in each frame that Nanite crunches down losslessly to around 20 million drawn triangles. What does that many triangles look like? This is
Holy
noise.
hell.
These are the triangles, each a different color. Most are so small that they look like noise. Nanite achieves detail down to the pixel, which means triangles are often the size of pixels. This amount of geometric detail requires shadows to be pixel accurate as well, and Nanite can do that too. Speaking of lighting, all of the lighting in this demo is completely dynamic, with the power of Lumen that even includes multi-bounce global illumination. No light maps, no baking here. Without GI, all of that beautiful lighting is gone. With Lumen enabled, we can move the light and the bounce changes instantly.
That's neat.
Okay, let's keep going.
I mean, look, I've always said this. Look, the exactly like how games are made.
We've made some great additions to our audio system as well.
You know, I mean, I've always said this. Look, I can, how to put it, like saying like I don't know how games are made. It's like saying I don't know how this food is made. You know, I can critique it, but I can't tell you exactly the step-by-step process in which it's made. I can't look at source code and tell you how it works. You know, so this is kind of, so they're kind of talking to a brick wall in terms of this, so I can't give you any like specific details, but just from what we're seeing and going by what they're, you know, kind of how I'm trying to interpret what they're saying here, I'm liking what they're doing with this engine. It looks, I mean, even without all the technical stuff, just looking at it, we can say this looks really good. But just seeing how they work the light, how they work shadows, the whole triangle thing that they were just talking about. Again, it's damn impressive. Like this is the stuff that I don't see, that I don't think I give enough credit to. I don't think the industry as a whole gives enough credit to some of the artists behind what we play. I think that's so much better than calling them devs or anything. I think, you know, they are artists in their own right.
Convolution reverb allows us to measure reverberation characteristics of real spaces. Like,
you know, she wouldn't have had to grab onto that ledge if she would have jumped a little later. She had more room to run.
Rendering allows us to record and play back spatialized audio.
That spatialized audio, I believe that's a whole 3D audio thing that a lot of people are really excited for, at least with the PS5. I'm gonna guess Xbox has some sort of comparative thing to it, but I remember when the PS5 was coming out, you were listening to a lot of developers kind of talking about it, and they were saying, you know, like, we really love the tech that's inside, or how the PS5 utilizes the tech inside, whatever, to letting them play with like 3D audio and a lot of stuff like that. So that's just, again, interesting that they're using a PS5 for this.
All of this,
and I also assume, because like I said, this is Epic's and Unreal and everything, this is used on cross-platform, that I'm going to guess that, you know, like I said, Xbox has its own version of this 3D audio or whatever.
It's up to a more immersive experience. This swarm of bats was created with our Niagara effects system. Particles in Niagara can now talk to one another and understand their environment like never before. We've also added a ton of new functionality to run fluid simulations like you see in the water below.
See, I think the audio thing is actually probably what I'm most impressed with.
Physics system. Here we are using it to accurately simulate the rigid bodies of the falling rocks and the cloth of her scarf.
Yeah, like I was saying, I think I really like the audio more than anything, just the way those bats moved, the crumbling of this little canyon. I think that's actually what I'm more impressed about. Or with, whatever.
Now that the environment is so complex, we've needed to greatly improve our animation systems to adapt. We've added predictive foot placement and motion warping, which dynamically modifies IK and body position to look more natural. For the character to more realistically interact with the environment, we've added the ability to trigger seamless contextual animation events, like her hand on the door.
Looks promising.
Okay, so what he's saying is that's not scripted
Dynamic AI is
necessarily.
amazing, not just for speeding up iteration.
Like I said, I think what he's getting at is like that's not scripted when she puts her hand on the door like that. It's more of a, it's doing it because it senses the door's nearby. I mean, I guess in a way you could call it scripted, but it's not. You're still in control and everything. I mean, I'm not saying that we haven't seen things like that in you know, the current generation. I mean, we've seen similar things to that, but I don't know. I'm really curious how far they can really kind of push that sort of reactiveness of the character to the world, where it's not necessarily scripted, where there's an element of randomness to it.
But also
There we go.
impact on gameplay.
Nice.
Any light
That's
source can move while
it
still
might
having
be.
beautiful bounce lighting. Dynamic illumination
Cool.
means specular as well, which you can see on all the metal surfaces. You can
I was
even
about to
see
say that.
Niagara-powered bugs reacting to the light. Lumen not only reacts to moving light sources, but also changes in geometry. Remember we mentioned high poly assets? This statue was imported directly from ZBrush and is more than 33 million triangles. No baking of normal maps, no authored LODs. And we can do more than a single statue. There are nearly 500 of that exact statue at the same detail level placed in this room, for a total of over 16 billion triangles from statues alone.
You know, please tell me this is an actual
Demo,
game we're
there
getting
are
to play.
hundreds of billions of triangles.
Okay, so yeah, it's a demo. I was just saying because I mean, I'm really liking the look of this. I have no idea what it is, but I'm really liking the actual look of it. So I'm just sitting here going, I hope this isn't just like a tech, like a tech demo, but it's like an actual. This is a game we will get to play.
So with Nanite, you have limitless geometry, and with Lumen, you have fully dynamic lighting and global illumination, all running on a PlayStation 5.
Neat.
There's not much time left.
And this doesn't need to be constrained to small rooms. It can stretch all the way to the horizon.
The portal, it's open. Don't fail me now.
Splat. Okay, what the actual hell is this game?
It's time to see what's next.
Cool. I
There you go.
What else can I say?
Unreal Engine 5 is real. And
Excuse me.
That was the first real-time footage of something running on the PlayStation 5 as well. Such a amazing day, I think, for gamers to get a glimpse at.
Holy shit, he's right.
Next. And now it's my honor to be joined by three guys from Epic to talk a little bit about today's announcement. Of course, we've got Tim Sweeney, Kim LeBerry, and Nick Penwarden. Guys, thanks for joining me here virtually. This is a really big and exciting day. I mean, I think I just was so blown away when I saw this footage about what UE5 can do. And Tim, this is, I know, a special moment for you to have, put a 5 on this Unreal Engine. I remember the first time you showed me the original Unreal Engine. I think it was like 1996 at E3 at a Marriott Marina Del Rey. And I was looking back last night at like the old Next Generation magazine cover with like, can you believe this is what a PC screenshot of the original Unreal Engine, how far we've come. Tell me, I mean, this is a big moment for Epic, but what does this mean to sort of the company right now to be able to, debut the first PlayStation 5 footage, but also, introduce, a new numbered version of Unreal?
Well, this really is a generational leap.
Again with the microphones.
Technological capabilities. And the hardware that Sony is launching is absolutely phenomenal. Not only an unprecedented amount of graphics power, but also a completely new storage architecture that blows past architectures out of the water, and it's far ahead of the.
And see, I'm going to go back to the console wars here. It's what he's just saying. I mean, they're Epic Games. They don't have a console allegiance. We saw Bethesda say really good things about what PlayStation is doing with the architecture of the PS5. And again, I say the architecture. Because again, we know the Xbox Series X is going to be way more powerful, but we're hearing developers talking about the things they're going to be able to do on the PS5 and everything, and I think that excites me even more for the PS5. And look, I've seen people say, "Oh, well," so people are saying how cool it is to develop for the Xbox game, but I've seen these. I'm like, they're Xbox studios. I've not seen a lot of third-party studios say extremely amazing things. I mean, not saying they haven't. Some of the third-party studios who are doing stuff with at the Xbox event, stuff like The Medium, which is going to be an Xbox exclusive. Scorn, I believe, is going to be an Xbox exclusive. I think Chorus as well. I think those were the 3 that are going to be actual exclusives to Xbox. So, I'm not saying that there aren't, but, we're hearing a lot of really big names. I'm hearing them talk about the PlayStation and what the PlayStation is allowing them to do for the next generation. Again, I'm not trying to sell PlayStation. I'm really not. I think so many... I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to stump for them either. I'm just trying to make my opinion and kind of give reasons for why I think PlayStation is at such an advantageous position. Is in such an advantageous position going into this next console generation. Look, not saying I don't have my gripes with them. Like they should have shown gameplay. They should have shown maybe not gameplay, but you know what I mean. In-engine footage. They should have revealed the console by now or price by now. They should have done a lot of things by now. I mean, granted, we do. I think we have a state of play tomorrow, but I understand people's frustrations, but I don't think Sony is necessarily in a bad spot. If anything, I think the success of this generation has kind of allowed them some goodwill, at least with me, to make sure they get it right. That's just where I'm sitting.
Even the state of the art and the highest end PCs you can buy, and so with Unreal Engine 5, we set out to build a new generation of technology that empowers creators to create photorealistic scenes that are indistinguishable from reality, and to do so with a very high degree of productivity. Right? I mean, there are 2 problems in game development. Right? One is the features needed to achieve complete realism, but the other big problem is just the cost and time it takes for an artist to create a major new piece of content for a next generation game. And so Unreal Engine 5 attacks both of those problems. We have the nanite system for virtual geometry, enabling sub-pixel geometry, which is imperceptibly different from the full high-quality assets, so the movie-quality assets that were originally scanned. Also, the Lumen, the real-time global illumination system, not only to bring unprecedented quality and lighting to the environments, but also to free artists from having to worry about the details of lighting their levels, and make all of these trade-offs in static lighting versus dynamic lighting. And so we're really trying to empower developers here, and to enable developers to create a new generation of experiences that are both unbelievably realistic, but also economical and practical for them to create without having to have a 1,000-person team.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at that footage, in 4K, I mean, just the level of detail is absolutely stunning. Kim, maybe you could break down a little bit of this, sort of visually what's happening that makes it look so incredible. Because I know you've got a couple of new systems that you're really proud of, and maybe talk about Nanite and what that is and how it works and how it's going to kind of shape games moving forward.
Okay, so Nanite is a new geometry system for Unreal Engine that lets us get down to almost sub-pixel levels of detail on the screen. It's possible because we have a new generation of hardware that really allows us to put loads and loads of triangles at the screen. And we thought that we'd come up with a new technique that allowed us to be able to create content in a similar way to the way that they do on movies today. So in fact, when you look at that demo, all them assets, Nana is basically ingesting all the movie quality assets from Quixel to make that scene. And the artist doesn't even have to think about it. They can move rocks and mountains and statues wherever they want in the scene and not have to worry about triangle costs anymore. Lumen, the global illumination system that Tim mentioned, that just produces incredibly realistic and accurate bounce lighting. So wherever you place a light in the scene, its effect on the whole world is seen instantly by just moving things around. It's amazing.
Yeah, when I saw that demo, I was just so blown away by the visual fidelity, and also I think how much felt, at least to me as an end user, how much felt that so much of the environment was streaming in real time in so much detail, especially that sequence where she's flying through the environment. Mark Cerny has talked a lot about PlayStation 5 and the incredible bandwidth it's going to have to move data from the SSD right onto screen. Nick, can you maybe talk a bit about how that's sort of manifesting itself in this demo? I assume some of those improvements in PS5 are enabling types of things that just weren't possible in previous generations.
Yeah, so Nanite enabled the artist to build a scene with geometric complexity that would have been impossible before. There are tens of billions of triangles in that scene, and we simply couldn't have them all in memory at once. And so what we end up needing to do is streaming in triangles as the camera is moving throughout the environment. And the I/O capabilities of PlayStation 5 are one of the key hardware features that enable us to achieve that level of realism.
Yeah, no, it's stunning to see that, and I think also the global illumination. I think people have heard that concept before, but now really manifesting sort of in real time in that environment with the flashlight or some of the other lighting scenes. Can you guys maybe break down sort of from the gamer perspective, like how games are going to change because of the full global illumination?
Well, first of all, this enables a much wider variety of games to have very realistic responses to light. Everything from large-scale open-world types of games, with day-night cycles, being seamless transitions from indoor to outdoor. It's it makes lighting one of the things that the developers don't have to worry about, and it's a freeing technology. Not only does it mean more real-time lighting in games, but it also means there's a large set of problems that were very tricky in the previous generation that developers just don't need to worry about. And so I think you're going to see a much wider variety of types of games, taking advantage of Lumen and taking advantage of Nanite. And one of the core elements of every new generation transition is new hardware capabilities with an order of magnitude improvement over previous generations enable entirely new types of games to develop. The Battle Royale genre didn't even take off until the current generation, where you finally had enough computing and graphics power to enable a 100-player game with very, very high fidelity encounters. This new generation of technology that we're building with Unreal Engine 5 and that Sony's empowering with PlayStation 5 will enable entirely new types of game experiences that we can't even anticipate yet.
I mean, I'm not going to argue with him on the fact that technical improvements have allowed the battle royale genre to really kind of explode. But honestly, I don't think it was necessarily technology. Because I mean, what were the first two battle royale games? And really, let's be honest, one of them has really stuck around. The other one is kind of taking a back seat. It's still popular in its own right, though. What were those two? Players Unknown Battlegrounds, Fortnite. Neither of those are technical masteries. I mean, yeah, Player Unknown's Battlegrounds looks, or PUBG, there we go. Let's just say that the easy way. Yeah, it does look good, but at the end of the day, it's not the most graphically impressive game I've ever seen. It looks fine. It's not the super. I don't want to say super intensive, but you get what I'm saying. It's not the most. It's not going to be the one to kill your PC. And then same thing with Fortnite. Fortnite, yeah, it looks good and everything. And again, without modern tech, would the game exist as it currently does? No. But again, this kind of comes around to me disagreeing with him, saying that new types of games are going to be able to be made just by a lighting system and everything. I mean, maybe by... I think the way we think about games, the way we think about lighting in games, the way we think about structures and interactable environments might change. And look, again, he's more the expert than I am. I'm just some punk in a room. But still, from my uncultured opinion, that's what I think it is. I think it's going to be a shift in the way we see games and the way we see the technical aspects of games, not necessarily the games themselves, but that's my own personal opinion. Give me a quick second. Somebody's at my door. All right, figured out what the sound was. It turns out my cat was trying to get in my room. He was out in the hallway and he was not happy. He was not part of the party.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk over the past couple of weeks about the next generation and kind of will the leap be as great as previous generations? What are the types of things we're going to see? I think this demo, at least to me, is the first kind of real-time example of something that really grabs me. And I just want to confirm, like, what we're seeing there, that's all, like, you can actually play that with a controller? Like, that's not kind of frame dumped or anything? That's actually playable?
See, what Jeff's saying there, I think I got to pick my words carefully because I don't want to. I don't want this to make this sound like this is a prediction. This is more of a feeling I have. I have a feeling that at launch, the difference between the next gen hardware and the current gen hardware is not going to be as noticeable as it was between the 360 at the end to the Xbox One or the PS3 to the PS4. I think that was going to be a bigger gap at launch than what we're going to currently see. Because I think everybody's trying to do 4K and the boosted frame rates and everything, which yes are important, but let's be honest, we're talking some very minor detail and I don't want to say minor because I think some people are going to say, oh no, you can totally see the difference between 1080 and 4K. You can. I still think you can miss it sometimes. I mean, I've seen stuff in 4K and some stuff in 1080, and I'm like, well, which was the 4K, which was the 1080? I'm like, side to side, I can see it, but on its own or whatever, maybe it's because I'm not looking for it. That's not the most important thing to me. It's just, I don't think it's going to be the biggest jump. I think, but with the technology that's going to be inside these boxes, I think 2 or 3 years down the line is when we are going to see these things absolutely smoke current gen hardware. That's what I'm trying to say. I think I think that's where it's going to get most impressive is in a few years. Now it's definitely it's going to be an upgrade, but it's going to be even more impressive down the line. Again, total guess, but just a theory I have.
A fully playable demo, and we plugged in a recorder into the back of a PlayStation 5 dev kit and recorded the signal that came out over HDMI. So it's a totally live demo, and it's replayable, and it's a little bit different every time you play it.
What is the game?
Wow. No,
is it a game?
That flight sequence, everything. That's what's so exciting to me.
What is it?
Real-time footage. So what do you guys think?
There's fucking voice acting in it. What is it?
I mean, when people say, like, what is the leap of this generation going to be to sort of, previous generations from like PlayStation 3 to 4 or whatnot, is it any different this time? Is it going to be greater, less, or we don't know yet?
I think the sense of immersion, one of the great things about playing games is you can transport it to places that you could never go in the normal world. This level of lighting and detail really get you to a point where you're feeling like you're inside a movie set. Things are so realistic, and it's gonna aid the storytelling. I think that the sense of immersion, the feeling a player gets from actually visiting a space will be much deeper than you've ever seen before.
And the ability of the hardware and the engine to stream in massive amounts of content as you're going through a huge environment, I think that's going to have a much bigger impact on gaming than people are expecting right now. You know, until this next generation of hardware, previous generation console games had to be built to load data off of a spinning mechanical device, right? That has its roots in the 1950s. And now Sony's storage system is absolutely world class. Not only the best in class in console, but also the best on any platform, better than high-end PC. I think this is going to enable the types of immersion that we only could have dreamed of in the past. The world of loading screens is over, and the days of
dear God
of pop-in and geometry popping up as you're going through these game environments are ended, and the resulting effect is the ability to build games that are fully immersive from start to finish over hundreds of hours of gameplay if that's your game.
Yeah, no, incredible what I think this is going to enable. We've talked a lot about PS5. We know obviously Unreal Engine runs kind of across all platforms, including mobile and PC and Xbox, of course. What's your take on like what you're showing here? How is that going to scale to to other systems? Like this demo we're seeing, is that will that run on the Xbox Series X? Will it run on PC? How will it be different? Can you guys give us some context on that?
Well, I mean, Unreal Engine 5 is going to run across all of our supported platforms, next generation console, current generation consoles, as well as mobile devices. One of the key features that we've been working on is being able to build content once and deploy it across devices. So on higher end hardware where we can support Nanite directly, we'll be able to render scenes at the fidelity that you just saw, like on PlayStation 5. For, say, an Android or iOS mobile device, what we will be able to do is have tools that help to scale that content down so that you'll be able to take the game that you built at the highest fidelity level for console and bring it to all other devices.
Tim, do you have a sense between like sort of all the like Xbox, PlayStation, all these other systems, like sort of they've made somewhat different choices, also some similar ones, obviously with SSDs in both. Do you have a sense of how they're going to sort of compare in terms of power, or how you look at sort of like the overall landscape?
Well, we love all of our babies, and we can't make comparisons or pick favorites. But the Nanite technology we showed here is going to run across all next generation consoles and high-end PC. And most importantly, this is what's possible in the absolute best hardware that's going to exist at the end of the year. But these experiences you build, we will help developers scale down to every device that exists in the world. And we
look, I might be misinterpreting what he's saying, but he keeps saying the best hardware around, but he just said, well, I can't really make a comparison of how they're going to compare, but you're seeing this run on the PS5, and keep saying the best hardware. I don't think that's what he's saying, because it just seems really weird from a third-party group to say, no, our games are going to run best on PS5, and that's just how it is. I feel like that would make Microsoft a little unhappy, I have a feeling. So I don't think that's what he's saying, but in a way that's kind of how I think some people will interpret that. Just my take on it.
We really hope to empower all developers to do what we've done with Fortnite in this generation, which is build absolutely no sacrifices high-end console game, and then bring it to every device, including scaling it down to iOS and Android devices.
Really? Really? What he just said about Fortnite? You're going to compare Fortnite to The Witcher? And look, I'm not trying to shit on Fortnite. Look, I've said multiple times it's not my thing. I don't necessarily have a problem with the battle royale things. I dabbled a little in PUBG. I like it. That's more my thing, but that's because I like kind of bloodier, brutaler kind of things as opposed to Fortnite, which just feels so cartoonish. But that's just me. I understand Fortnite is a massive I just bit my tongue. Massive pop culture phenomena. I will give them that. But when you put it up technically against The Witcher blows it out of the water, in my opinion. Just in terms of looks, what it does. Maybe he's talking about something else. Maybe, man, I don't know. I disagree with that. I don't know. It's like I said, it's just, I look at it, maybe Fortnite requires a lot more technical goings on than I think it does. It's just, I look at Fortnite and I just go, okay, it's kind of cartoony, it's kind of whatever. I don't know. I don't consider that being some massive technical game or whatever. But hey, look, I'm not a developer. I'm not a coder or anything. So maybe I've just got things completely out of whack in my brain.
From years ago, so that we can reach a much larger audience of gamers than just the hardcore, some 200 million console players in the world.
So Kim, I know a lot of gamers around the world watched that footage and said, wow, I want to play that, but I'm sure they're also trying to kind of extrapolate out of that, since it's, this is not a game, it's a demo, how their games are going to feel different in the next generation. And one of the things that I really took away from it was that flight sequence at the end, which was just incredible, and with the sort of the rubble coming down and things moving. Could you maybe talk about sort of how the game experience might change with UE5? Sure, it's going to look visually more beautiful, but how is it going to play different?
Okay, so that's not a game. It is flat out just a tech demo. That's depressing because, well, also I need to ask the question: why was there? I understand why there's audio, but why was there voice acting? What was up with that? It looked really cool too. I'd kind of like to play that. Where the hell's my mouse?
So traditionally on this current generation, if you wanted to make a photorealistic environment, the way that people do that is they bake lighting into the environment. The problem with that means the environment is not dynamic. You can't move things around. You can't incorporate user-generated content because you don't know what it is prior to shipping your game. But with this technology, with the Lumen technology and Nanite, it means that worlds can be super rich and super dynamic. So not just destructible components, but mutating components and things that change beyond the release of the game. Every day, an environment could have grown and changed, and that can all be calculated live.
And see, I'm kind of thinking with what he just said there, kind of like a Rainbow Six kind of situation, but in more games than just Rainbow Six. And I'm talking Siege, excuse me. Where, in that game, almost every wall, floor, everything can be, destroyed. I could see that in more game, cop and military games, give you a little bit more freedom. You can breach through walls, you can blow, you can shoot through walls a lot easier. You can blow them up. You can do this, that, the other thing, and the lighting and everything makes a whole lot of sense. Like you said, the environment is no longer static. It's a dynamic, almost. It's a dynamic, almost character in the game itself.
And does that extend to I assume destructible environments and whatnot, and allowing people to sort of, really that sequence in the flight where you sort of, saw the sort of tower crash down or whatever. That felt to me, I just hadn't seen that level of detail in a game like that. And some games like Uncharted or whatever sometimes have big destruction moments, but it felt like that was so detailed and so realistic. Is that partially because you can now move the environment more in real time?
Yes, and even effects like
And even then, I think it would be easier to create those moments. It would be easier. You could do them more often. You could do them more. I don't want to say more often. You do them more. Yeah, because the other word coming to my mind is frequently. But I think it's just the ease of doing them. The actual labor intensive. Instead of just having one, you could have two or three, or whatever. Because again, I was getting an Uncharted vibe as I was watching that. But yeah, definitely, I can totally see where this does make the development process a lot easier on the people creating these games.
Big dome where all the statues are, the light just floods in and bounces all over the place. You really, the way you would have had to do that in the past is you would have to cheat, and now it can be fully dynamic. You can blow a hole in the sky and the light will come through, and even choose randomly colored lights. If you put them into the scene as a player, then they're going to have an effect on the whole world, and it'll still look realistic.
So in the past, you could get that effect, but it would have to be sort of pre-calculated, I guess. Is that how it worked?
Yeah, exactly. And even if you want to, like, if you're saying you're in a dungeon and you place a light, you see you've got a candle that you happen to have in the game, and you place it, that will bounce around corners. So you can explore with limited light sources, and the old-fashioned gag of having a flashlight beam isn't what you need anymore. You can actually use light in really interesting ways.
Yeah, and even beyond games, Unreal Engine has been applied to so many amazing aspects of entertainment. Of course, I think everyone knows The Mandalorian, how that used Unreal Engine, and there's the Weather Channel.
Oh, really? Actually, I didn't know that.
UE. Can you guys talk about how sort of?
Honestly, I didn't know that. I didn't know. I didn't know The Mandalorian used the Unreal Engine. Hell, I didn't even know that the Weather Channel uses it as well. It's kind of interesting.
UE5 is going to kind of tie into those experiences, and I think I assume you see this convergence of kind of everything coming together through an engine like Unreal in terms of just realizing entertainment. How will UE5 sort of be used in those fields, or how will that change the pipeline for non-game experiences too?
So one of the great things about Nanite is that it finally allows content creators of all kinds to be able to use movie quality assets. So there really won't be a difference. If you're building an environment for a film versus a video game, or you're making an IP that's transmedia, you can build things the same way now. And that was we had so much exposure to film customers over the last few years using our engine that we really wanted to remove the barrier for them and for all game makers. Right now, you pick a high resolution asset you want, you load it in, you don't have to think about making levels of detail or normal maps or any of the usual stuff that goes with making game content. It's a pretty freeing experience for anybody trying to tell a story or to make an experience.
That's amazing. So, in the eyes of a consumer, like, you'll see an asset that's in, a movie, and that they literally can drag that over to the game now, whereas I guess in the past they would have to sort of, reduce down the polygons and kind of scale it down for a game engine.
Yeah, and in fact, actually, Quixel, that's also part of Epic. Their assets, they come when you take an asset from the Quixel store. There is a movie quality version that would be used in movies. I guess they were involved a lot in the Jungle Book movie a few years ago, and many movies today use Quixel assets. And they also have versions of them assets that are suitable for games. Now, you don't have to have that distinction. Nanite will just take the movie asset and do the right things with it.
One of the things I know when you guys moved to UE4, a lot of people, were worried about, it's breaking some of the pipeline of things that people had done previously. And it sounds like with this engine, you're saying it's going to be kind of a pretty seamless transition to UE5, right? That's important for you, sort of have the forwards compatibility?
Yeah, absolutely. We want to support developers bringing their games from UE4 to UE5. And in fact, we will be doing that ourselves with Fortnite. So we will be shipping Fortnite on next generation console on UE4. And then next year we will be bringing Fortnite to UE5 as well. So we'll be testing out that experience of bringing a game along from UE4 to UE5 and making sure the transition is manageable.
Wow. Yeah. Fortnite obviously is such a phenomenon, as you mentioned earlier, Tim, with, battle royales. But also I feel like, Fortnite has turned into, really kind of this metaverse-like platform where we're seeing kind of different experiences powered by Unreal. And I was wondering if you guys could talk a bit about that, because I look at, the Travis Scott concert and I see that as an amazing experience, but it sort of was an interactive music video in a way. And then, you watch the YouTube video for his new song, it's actually, just what was in Unreal. How do you see all the sort of worlds of entertainment combining, Tim, longer term? And obviously, based on what Kim was saying, it's now going to be even easier, I guess, for the assets to move. But from an experience standpoint, do you see kind of a blending of games with more traditional entertainment powered by Unreal?
Yeah, absolutely. All of these worlds are colliding right now in real time. We're seeing the sort of film production that's being done on The Mandalorian and other projects all around Hollywood, film and television. Being able to move directly to games in the future. Right now we've brought Marvel content into Fortnite and Star Wars content into Fortnite, and each of those processes started with rebuilding their movie quality assets for real time, using our tools. But in the future, this is going to be an exercise to build every asset exactly once and then deploy it everywhere. And the future isn't just going to be about Unreal Engine serving a bunch of separate markets. We're helping architects visualize their creations now, and that's awesome. We're helping film and television makers, virtually produce their work in real time, with actors in front of and actresses in front of cameras and big LED screens instead of green screens, and it's making the production process much more efficient, real time, and higher quality. But in the future, all of these assets are going to come together, and Epic's not going to just play a role in supplying creation software to all of these different industries. We're going to help everybody reach consumers with real-time 3D content. When General Motors released their Corvette car configurator for the 2020 Corvette, it was powered by Unreal. It was running in the cloud, and you could go there and you could configure your car right then. But that was disconnected from the rest of the gaming world. The next step with all of those types of experiences is to enable them to author that content for all their internal work, whether you're designing a home for a customer as an architect, or you're designing a car, or you're building a television series. We want the next generation of these experiences to be bringing all of those assets directly to gamers in a fun way, deploying them into Fortnite and every other Unreal Engine licensee's games, being able to reach a vast
I love how he keeps bringing up Fortnite.
Right? It's like
look, I get it. It's your big money maker. I understand that. Honestly, when I first brought up Fortnite, I forgot that. I honestly forgot Fortnite was one of Epic's games. I really can't believe I forgot that. So like I said, I get it. He's bringing up Fortnite, but still, it's kind of ridiculous. Again, I mean, like looking at that. What he says, Travis Scott. Honestly, I heard they did that live concert. I didn't know the artist. Again, it looks cool. The lighting's neat and then all the bouncing colors. But again, I still I'd much rather see something like The Witcher or something. Just look. I don't know. Like I said, just for me, Fortnite's a little too cartoonish. But whatever. Not trying to knock you if it's your thing. It's just it's not my party.
Yeah, it's like the transition that the world went through in the early days of the internet, and then social media. For a while it was just companies talking to customers one-on-one, and now you have the ability to reach customers directly through your Facebook page or your Twitter page, your Twitter account, or anything like that. But the next generation of these experiences is not just text and video. It's real-time 3D. It's a social experience where players are together with all of their friends and experiencing all of these companies' content together in real time. And it's a world that's not going to be powered by advertisements that pop up and annoy you. It's a world that's going to be powered by
tell EA that
these companies make available to power your entertainment experiences. And we're blazing this path to some extent with Fortnite, but there will be a lot of other games heading in this direction, a lot of them powered by Unreal Engine. And I think this is the next step in the entire digital content industry, not just gaming, but the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm trying to rip on EA's mobile
it's so exciting
development.
To feel that games are going to be at the center.
That's where that
of
joke
this,
was meant for.
I think this those shared experiences that you're having in Fortnite, even a concert experience. There's no gunplay or combat involved. It's just a shared kind of experience, which is so compelling.
So weird.
Powered by Unreal.
Whatever.
You think of,
I'm a boomer, I guess.
And all the other assets coming together in a world. It's really exciting. One thing I wanted to ask you about was the content creation path, because we've seen a lot, especially in Fortnite, with creative mode and a lot of fans of Fortnite starting to build levels, and obviously UE. You guys, I think, have really focused on kind of making it accessible, lowering the royalty rates for kind of upstart developers. Can you maybe talk a bit about sort of the your vision of kind of how easy it is to build something in Unreal? I mean, are we going to get to a level where it is sort of like a Photoshop where you can kind of just jump in and build a game, or what is that barrier to entry going to go down in the next generation?
Epic is working to address the whole range of content development scenarios, all the way from your AAA game developer or your feature film in Hollywood being produced using world-class photoreal assets, all the way down to indie game experiences and content creation for the 100 million people who want to build stuff but aren't professional modelers and haven't had training in that. And the continuum of experiences spans Fortnite Creative, which has been used by over 100 million people, all the way up to Unreal Engine 4 and the Unreal Editor, which is an insanely powerful piece of software that's actually pretty complicated to learn. But over time, these tools and technologies will be coming together in some exciting ways, and we're not ready to talk about all of it yet. But Epic is really thinking about and putting a lot of effort into addressing the entire continuum of content development and content deployment scenarios. And we feel that the state of the world is a little bit broken right now. If you look at the app stores on smartphones, you have 250,000 games, each competing for the top 10 charts, where virtually all of the sales occur. And you have a small number of winners and a whole lot of losers in that way, and it's not a fair situation for game developers. And you have a lot of amazing games that just get lost because they haven't been discovered. More and more we want to enable content creators to reach the audiences within existing games. And this has been part of the industry since the days of Quake and Unreal Tournament, when user mods became possible, and we and id Software released our first tools so the community could start building their own stuff. And now it's reached a scale of hundreds of millions of users. If you look at what Fortnite is doing, and Minecraft and Roblox enabling user content creation, but I think right now you have two separate worlds, right? You have the professional tools of Unreal Engine and Unity, and then you have the tools for the masses in Fortnite, Minecraft, Roblox, and they're really not connected anymore. They're not connected at all. And the next step is to cross over and to enable all of the content tools to reach all of the customers and all of the ways that they play games. And this is something that we're thinking a lot about, and we'll be doing a lot of work on in the coming years.
It's awesome to hear. We've talked a lot, obviously, about like graphics and lighting and things that are very powerful and visual that grab you. But I want to talk about the underlying architecture a little bit, and things especially like online services. And I know that's something that Epic has focused on, about kind of connecting people, even crossplay, but also finding ways to kind of bring communities together. And I guess some of that's tied to UE5, but also it's just a general platform approach. But can you maybe share a bit on kind of your vision on the other aspects of Unreal and Epic, and how that's going to sort of evolve over the next few years too?
Oh, sure. Today we're showing Unreal Engine 5 for the first time, but we're launching the Epic Online services to all developers in the world across 5 platforms right now, and you can download the Epic Online Services SDK and use it right away. What this is the set
Oh, he's reading a press
online
release,
features
basically.
that we built for Fortnite, including cross-platform friends that span 7 platforms, enable players to connect together with all of their friends everywhere. Despite the different account systems and friend systems that exist on each platform, on the console platforms and on Steam. And we're opening it up to all developers for free. And the goal here is to help all developers work together to accomplish what we accomplished with Fortnite, and to build a cross-platform social ecosystem together with all of the other developers in the industry, right? Instead of players being siloed into the one platform they're playing on, we want them to be able to reach all of their friends everywhere, but also build up friends across multiple games. And that's the really interesting thing about the Epic account services that we're launching. If you choose to use Epic accounts in your game, then you can reach the entire Fortnite player base, which is over 350 million accounts worldwide. And more importantly, it's 2.2 billion social connections between players. When 2 players become online friends and start playing together, those friend connections now persist across games, from all of the different publishers who choose to use these services. And so, it's the most open set of services that have been launched to date, and it really helps to bridge the gap, that's existed on all of the other platforms. And until recently, it was really only Epic, EA, Activision, the really big companies with a huge set of development resources that had the capability of building that sort of thing. But now this is open, and it's approved by all 3 of the console makers for use on their platforms, and it's ready for all game developers to adopt. And so we're really trying to help the industry get to a better place. And we think the core of the game industry are these 300 million hardcore gamers across high-end PC and console. But there are billions of gamers worldwide, and I think the next stage of the industry's growth is going to come from connecting these audiences, not with low-end casual games on one set of platforms and high-end games on another set of platforms, but getting all of the players to play together and enabling all developers to release their games on all platforms, as we did with Fortnite.
Yeah, I think that's such an interesting idea that, these gaming platforms almost become, it's another social network now, right? And I know you guys have House Party that's been very successful over the past few months especially, but it feels like now, you talk those numbers with Epic Online Services, it starts to feel like this is, a Twitter or a Snapchat or an Instagram and sort of this way to kind of connect people. Is that part of your longer term vision, is that people will use sort of these game services as kind of a gateway to connect with people, and games are a part of it, but also just the larger sort of social graph will be kind of the gateway to it will be through a game engine?
Well, what we're building here is the opposite of a walled garden, right? We're enabling all publishers to use all of their different account systems and connect using these services. And we're working with all of the different
Jesus H. How much more of this? Oh my God! All right, let's go.
Interconnect them. The most interesting thing about this, and if you start playing Fortnite on PlayStation, and then you want to play the game on the iOS device, on iOS you can log in with your PlayStation account, and then you get all of your PlayStation progress transferred over. If you start playing on PC, then you create an Epic account. Then if you go to Xbox, then you can log in with your Epic account on your Xbox. And so this isn't a walled garden. Rather, it's an attempt to connect all of the different services, so which have different degrees of openness. And I think that's really going to be freeing for the industry. It's going to mean that everybody can talk to everybody else, and there's no one company controlling the whole thing. Rather, it arises as a result of the cooperation between all of the different companies in the ecosystem, who finally realize that they can grow better and build better businesses if, instead of trying to let players into their platforms, they enable their players to connect with all of their friends across all platforms. Because
I get what he's saying, but the world he's talking about is a world in which is filled with rainbows and puppies. I'm sorry, I don't see companies doing that. It's everybody has always pushed the whole, well, how come I can't play with my friends? They have an Xbox and I have a PlayStation. How come we can't play against each other? I'm like, well, probably because companies don't want to have that. Companies don't want to give you a reason to not buy their console. If that makes sense. Companies don't want to give you a reason to buy someone else's and not buy yours. Because like I said, if it's, like with why would Xbox say, yeah, you can play, what was I thinking? You can play your free. I'm trying to think the best way to put it, because I get it. Some games do this. I think Fortnite is one of them. But you want to play, both want to play FIFA and you want to play across. Does EA games? I'm trying to come up with a good analogy here. But again, you want to play online multiplayer with your friends, but you have different consoles. Well, neither side wants to let that happen, because again, it makes the differences between the consoles. It makes the decision of which box to get irrelevant. They don't want it to be irrelevant. They want you to have a specific reason to buy their box. Look, you can argue that's something. It's a similar argument for exclusives. That's why they exist. They exist to push out and say, look, buy our console. I had a conversation with somebody week and a half ago, and he was saying, he's like, I want to play all these games on PlayStation, but I prefer to play Xbox and everything. And I'm like, well, and I can't get both. And I'm like, well, it sucks. What do you want? And he comes at it from, he's like, oh well, it would be so great, if I could play, Sony Spider-Man and all the blah blah, and I'm like, yeah. But then we'd only have one. Then why would you? I'm trying to think, and I look at him. I'm like, well, then why would you buy the Xbox over the PlayStation? And he's like, well, it kind of comes down to brand loyalty. It's because if exclusives are no longer a thing, which I think some people overlook how important exclusives are. I think they are important. I think they are great marketing tools for a platform. I think they're even more than just pure power or features. I think that exclusives, I think, win or lose the day for you. Wait, I'm sorry. I've kind of gotten off track, but I kind of made my point. It's what he's saying is all well and good. It's not a future that will happen because companies, how to put it's what I told this guy. What's good for gamers isn't necessarily what's good for business. Those overlap definitely, but not all the time. And I think crossplay and everything, it's one of those. It's one of those tricky things. I think it can be done, but it can't be done on everything. It's just how I see it.
You know, we have a lot of devices in our lives, and everybody who has an Xbox or a PlayStation also has an iPhone or an Android device. And you know, to really enable the next generation of industry growth, we've got to be able to connect all of these users with all of these friends and set aside kind of the old feuds that defined previous generations of the console business.
So with everything you're describing, I think of, a show like The Mandalorian, which, we all watched and loved, but all those assets in there.
Popeye's gross.
Them now from building kind of an interactive experience, I guess, around that they could power with something like Unreal. And maybe it's a game, but maybe it's just sort of this shared experience. And it feels like, the visual fidelity now that these next-gen consoles will bring. I mean, based on what you were saying, Kim and Nick, it's like, are things going to look just like movie visual effects? Like, what are the things that I guess real-time games can't do still that we get to see in some of these other shows?
I think we're getting much closer in this generation to get to the point where you're not going to be able to tell the difference between a virtual world and a real world. There's still, physical phenomenon, big, massive explosions, and waves crashing on a beach. I think they're still probably one generation off before they're perfect, but we're getting closer and closer. And one of the coolest things that we've seen with the advent of shows like The Mandalorian starting to use the engine is they're beginning to understand that a game engine isn't just about rendering pretty real-time pixels. They're understanding that game engines, especially Unreal, is built for building these very immersive simulated worlds. So we're seeing people say they've got a car chase in their TV show that they're trying to make, then they'll actually drive cars with steering wheels and joypads to race against each other and then film that after the fact. So it's starting to become very almost like very Matrix way in the way that they're using simulation for cinematic content creation. And I think that's just going to get more and more common. And as they start to rock the potential of what real-time interactive entertainment is about, I think you're going to see traditional storytellers making the move into video games, and I think and backwards and forwards. I think you're going to see this very, very fuzzy world where it's just entertainment. You're building an IP. It can be a game. It can be a TV show. It can be all of these things, and it's going to be a pretty exciting decade.
That scares me for one reason, and that is, I've said this is my problem with this. One of my biggest problems with the Assassin's Creed franchise is how they have made so much of their lore, or not even just their lore, but so much of their actual like main canon story, how much they have put in comic books and whatnot. Like the I mentioned this again, same conversation. I talked about a lot of things with this guy about a week and a half ago. I was talking Assassin's Creed with him a little bit because, we're both fans of the franchise. And we were talking number 3, the guy, what was his name? I want to say Alex Cross, but that's a James Patterson novel, isn't it? Actually, I think I might have a few of those somewhere in my room, but that's beside the point. But, you had the Templar assassin, who I think I'm trying to remember his backstory. It's been a long time since I played 3. Wasn't his backstory something along the lines? He was a born an assassin, brought to the Templars, like he was mind controlled kind of, and turned, like drugged and turned and everything, and then he became like a sleeper or something like that. But I want to say his last name was Cross or something. But either way, you see him in AC3. He kind of came out of freaking nowhere. All of his backstory, all of his character is really explained in the comic books. I believe some of it's also explained in Revelations, but Revelations is just kind of a nebulous, in my opinion. Because like I said, I don't want to say it was entirely in the comic books because I think some of it was in Revelations, but I can't really remember. I try and block out Revelations from my brain. I forget where I was making this point. Oh, right. The sorry. The blurring of the line between multiple forms of media. This is what killed Marvel to me. You know, I can't just watch the movies. I also have to watch TV shows and this and that. It just there's too much. You know, there's too much for me to keep track of. So now if you're creating an IP and it can just as easily be a game, a movie, or a TV show or anything, I'm like, okay, I feel like some developers are going to try and push too hard and make some IPs just so maybe I would have liked it if we would have had a game every 2 or 3 years, but now I have to play the game, watch the TV show, watch the movie, and do all this shit. I'm like, nope, seems like homework. I'm out. That's just a fear of mine when I hear, oh, we're gonna blur the lines of all these media forms.
And I'm sure some people saw that, the showcase that you guys just showed, the demo, and everyone's like, I want to play that game. But we should clarify that's not a game, I don't think, right? It's just a tech demo.
Then why was there voice acting?
Yes.
Why was there voice acting?
Like the best way to present, especially something that was built for the game developer conference.
You see, I wasn't sure about that. I can't remember if I said the only reason I was thinking that was a real demo was because, like I said, there was freaking voice acting. Why? Why put that there? I understand, like the sound and the bats and everything, so you want to show off the sound technology, but why do you put voice acting in there? God damn it! That's really frustrating to me.
To show something within the context of gameplay. So, and it also means, we wanted to improve some animation systems in the engine. So it was much better to actually have a world that you can walk through, play, jump, whatever. Keeps it real, or unreal in this case.
It's real gameplay. That's what we like to see, is that people can actually play through that. And again, it just blows me away when you see that final sequence at the flight, and that's the kind of thing that I think we've all been waiting for.
Would you consider turning that tech demo into a game?
Are going next,
please?
So it's really exciting to see how you guys keep pushing the technology to the next level with UE5. And I know it's going to be next year. You say so. We'll see some next gen games this holiday shipping on brand UE 4.25, I think, right? And then next year is when we'll see UE5. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. We're planning on having a preview of UE5 available early next year, and then shipping the full 5.0 later in the year.
Yeah, and I imagine characters will also improve. I know you guys have done a lot of work there with sort of character technology. We already talked about with Nick, the idea of streaming more into the environment. No load times, as Tim mentioned. I mean, these are other things that I guess are going to sort of impact the game experience. But are there other dimensions that you think the next generation will sort of evolve to with UE5? I mean, I think the character stuff feels like, to me, another area where we're not quite the same as movies yet in terms of character technology, but I'm sure you guys are pushing on that too.
I'm very confident. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Tim.
This is just the tip of the iceberg here. We've shown digital humans technology in the past, but Epic and the 3 Lateral team that recently joined us are going to be pushing that to entirely new levels, not just in graphics fidelity, but also in productivity for content creators, so that a developer without a huge budget can build digital humans that are world class. We have a lot of investments going on that you'll hear about over the coming months and over the next year. Also, at the core of this, this isn't a big open world demo, but open world technology and enabling worlds without bounds is the key initiative that's uniting all of this. Virtualized geometry is one part of it. Global illumination with Lumen is another part of it. But ultimately, this comes together to empower huge streaming seamless environments, and that creates an entirely new direction for games to go. And remember, this is not just a graphics engine, right? It's a full simulation engine. It aims to power every aspect of simulating a realistic environment, including very detailed physics, and vehicles, and collision, and destruction, and everything else. I think you'll see a qualitatively different set of games built for the new generation than what we have here. And it's going to be very exciting because we don't yet know exactly what they're going to be.
And how...
When I was seeing that guy, sorry, I was just wanted to Yeah, that's a great pause on Jeff's face. I just wanted to let him finish talking. When when we saw that face capture, whatever, that guy, just that while they were talking, you just saw that generated character just moving his mouth. That just so made me think, God damn it, Rockstar, take modern technology, take this shit and make another LA Noire. Hell, remake LA Noire and make it better. Dear God, that game was so ahead of its time. It was a really cool concept that just didn't pan out because it kind of looked goofy. And I think it was just the facial scan technology at the time. I think if that was made now, it would be a whole hell of a lot better. But dear God, I want that game to come back. I'm sorry, that just made me think LA Noire. And just, God damn it, I want that game again.
How does you guys mentioned Fortnite moving to UE5 next year? Like, I mean, how is this going to impact Fortnite? Do you think in terms of like the game, with UE5? Sure, you don't want to spoil much, but it's like just technically, sort of like, is that going to enable the game to evolve too?
Well, it puts a vast amount of additional new power in the hands of all of the creators who build Fortnite, both within Epic and the 100 million or so outside of Epic.
Yeah.
It's going to be very interesting to see where this enables the game to go in the future. I think what we have now is a very, very small fraction of what the game will be in the future, and it's going to be very exciting to see the Fortnite team evolve it and have all of this new power in their hands.
Well, I see it as, it's a game, but it also feels like a platform in a way that it's enabling, these other, there's Battle Royale game, but there's creative. And obviously we've started to see, other experiences with music artists and whatnot around it. So it feels like it is this, this beachhead to sort of a bunch of other content. Is that how you view it, as sort of this, sort of this, I mean, people have used the term, sort of metaverse, but is that sort of the longer term vision, is that Fortnite can sort of grow to wherever creators want to take it?
Yeah, they define a platform as
Dear God, Fortnite is the new Minecraft.
As an ecosystem in which
they've unseated Notch.
The content is not created by the company that operates it, right? And I think if you look at Fortnite today, it's not that. But anything's possible in the future. I think that's a very interesting.
Does anybody remember when Fortnite was originally sold, or what it was originally billed as? Wasn't it a PvE, like a multiplayer PvE sort of game? It was like a horde, like zombie defense game. Like, does anybody else remember that, or was that a totally different project that looked very similar to Fortnite? Because I remember that game. I remember people talking about it, how it kind of looked cool. It went dead. PUBG got really, really big. That was right when PUBG was reaching its height. And then, boom, here comes this Battle Royale game that's Fortnite that had from what I remember, the same name. Like, am I going crazy? Does anybody else remember that project? I don't know why I'm bringing that up now. It's just, it always kind of made me laugh that Fortnite became as popular as it was. But to me, it always kind of seemed like you just kind of reworked it into something more, just into a more popular genre. I mean, it was a good move in hindsight, but at the time that just seemed weird.
Direction for the whole game business. Every game developer is thinking about this problem of how to not limit their experience by the 10 or 100 or 1,000 people on their development team, but how to uncap the entire world's creativity to enable an entirely new generation of game experiences to be developed in an entirely new way.
Yeah, well, I think UE5 obviously shows the high end of the aspiration for everyone to, what they'll eventually be able to maybe make. And yeah, that demo is absolutely stunning. Before we go, I wanted to ask you, like, that demo, how long did it take you guys to build? How many people worked on it? Can you give us a sense of, like, how that came to life?
Well, we started thinking about it straight after GDC was when we started thinking about it. We knew Brian's nanite technology was beginning to come online. And but the bulk of the work, I would say the bulk of the work started from sort of September through to March. And I think the team, it probably peaked over this, but I think it was about 24 people that worked on the project overall. And with a bit of help from our friends at Quixel, if it hadn't been for the Quixel Megascan library, we couldn't be able to populate that world.
Yeah, well, I'm sure everyone looks at that and says, I want to play that game, and I know we're not necessarily going to get it, but it hopefully will inspire a lot of creators around the world about what will be possible, with UE5 and also the next generation systems. So, I feel real excited now about what we're going to get to see for the rest of the year for all these next-gen games and, of course, into the future. Thanks, as always, for joining me, guys. It's great to see the first look at UE5 and hear about where Epic's going. And the future looks quite bright. Thanks, guys.
Cool. Thank you.
It looks like Geoff Keighley got a haircut from what we saw him yesterday. All right. Anything else? Are they gonna like show something else? Like, hey, next stream is whenever. Special showcase live streams May 12th. But yeah, but that has already kind of come and passed. Today is May 13th. Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully there's not something tomorrow, because I'll be doing one of these for, again, like I said, I'm pretty sure it's a Sony State of Play tomorrow. What are my thoughts on this? Sorry if you just heard a little crackle. I think I figured out what's causing that mic crackle. I think it's when I take my headset off at the end of a video, it's coming too close to my my microphone. It's causing a little feedback or something. Where was I going with this? That last one was really long and kind of dry. I hope I kind of made it fun in a way. Or I don't know. Maybe you wish I would have shut the hell up and listened to the smart people talk. I will say I was a little out of my depth because they were talking more of the technical side, which isn't my, as I keep saying, isn't my necessarily realm of expertise. But hopefully I did justice. Hopefully you guys had some fun. I got to take a little bit of a break though after all that. So Tony Hawk Pro Skater, definitely excited for. Sadly, I'm probably not going to be able to do an LP for it. But again, it's just it's all soundtrack and copyright issues. It's just I don't know. I feel like it would be more of a pain in the ass than it's worth. And then the Unreal Engine looks really cool. I think, like I said, I think we got some cool insights into the next generation from it. But like I said, they're just, at this point, again, with all next gen speculation. So either way, thanks for watching, guys. Social media's in the description. Like I mean, not already, please subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned for more next time. Until then, my name's AJ Gels. This is Something Game Channel. I'm out.